This is everything that I wish I knew before college. Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Joy. Today's video is going to be a what I wish I knew before college video, going over all the lessons I learned and honest college advice that I would give to either my younger self or anybody about to or currently going through their own college experience. These are things that I go back and tell my younger self when she was either going through tough times or to help her get the absolute most out of her own college experience. So hopefully by sharing these things, it can be a little bit helpful to anybody currently going through their own college experience. The number one thing that I wish I knew, or at least trusted more before I started college, is the mindset that everything passes. Not to be like super dramatic, but there were definitely times in college where I experienced lows that I, in the moment, really wasn't sure would ever pass, whether that be mental health wise, feeling like I either failed at something or was going to fail at something so badly that I'd never recover, or situations occurring in my life that made me feel like my life was crumbling and I couldn't control it. But every single time where in the moment I really wasn't sure if I could get through it, either a month, a year, or a couple years down the line, I've been able to look back and kind of see that that wasn't true. And so I guess after having gone through that cycle so many times, I've developed a lot more trust in the idea that things do pass, even if in the moment I don't think they will. How do you kind of go about dealing with tough situations? I think the biggest thing that my experience in college really just reinforced is how important it is to build really strong support systems, whether that be socially with having friends and networks of friends that you feel like really have your back, or academically with building good relationships with your professors, TAs, classmates, or with any resources that your school might have available for you, so that when you do find that things are getting tough, you have people that you can lean on. Another thing that I learned in college and wish I could go back and reassure myself is that every situation can still be changed. It's still really important to keep pushing and persevering.
Never back down, never what?
Extracurricularly, socially, if you are doing terribly on your first round of midterms, if you feel like you're not surrounded by the best people, everything can, for the most part, still be attempted to be changed. I think I learned this most academically, so I'll give two examples. My first ever round of midterms as a freshman, I studied my butt off for them. I was really scared for them and I wasn't really sure what to expect. Got the scores back. I'm pretty sure I got like straight C's. I was really unsure if it was in me to get my scores up to where I wanted them to be. I really had to sit down with myself, change things, and I ended my first semester with A's. And you know, that wouldn't have been possible if I gave up. I think that was a really good lesson for me to, even if it comes back bad, to really just keep pushing and keep changing and keep examining the things that you're doing. Another example, one time I was in a class for my engineering degree and I was doing so badly. I was getting steamrolled. I got a C on the first midterm. I was like, okay, time to lock in, girl. Proceeded to get either like a D or an F on the next midterm and was like, yikes. I thought I did everything in my power. I'm really not sure if I can pass this class. I went to that professor's office hours. I was really trying to hold it together, but I ended up like snotting, crying, being like, in your experience, has anybody ever bounced back from getting these scores? Do you think that I should drop this class and take it again? And he was like, you know, some people do recover from this, some people don't recover from this, but I think you can do it. I left still snotting, crying, but was like, I'm gonna keep pushing, gonna keep trying. After kind of giving my everything I had, blood, sweat, snot, tears, I got like 100 on the final and an A in the class. And those were things that I 100% thought were completely and totally off the table. And so like I really shocked myself. And I think both of those experiences really showed me, even if you don't think it's possible to come back from something, it's still important to keep pushing and keep trying. And of course I've been in situations where I've applied the same kind of mentality and have not gotten anywhere close to a goal that was completely out of what I thought was possible, but every single time I've landed at least a little bit closer. And at the end of the day, when I look back at those experiences, while like in the moment it was really, really scary and kind of a little bit confidence breaking, in the rear view mirror they kind of look like blips, having gone through it and then kind of grown out of it. Just keep swimming, just keep pushing. You don't really know what could happen going forward. Another thing that I wish I knew before college is to not make decisions out of fear. Especially towards the start of college, I made a lot of decisions out of fear. I wasn't telling myself like, oh, I'm making this decision out of fear, but like underlying those decisions was a fear of rejection or a fear of failure or something like that. Without fail, every single one of them came back to bite me in the butt. So I go back and tell myself to evaluate a little bit more if I was making my choices off of something rational or out of like a really irrational fear, keeping myself from branching out and doing something that I knew I wanted to do. Really, I go back and tell myself college is the time to be absolutely delusional and persistent. Go after everything you want. If it's an opportunity, if it's a lab you want to join, if it's an extracurricular activity that seems really intimidating, this is the time to go, to send that email, and not just the email, send the follow-up email and then the follow-up email. Go to those club meetings, ask the person you want to be your friend to go out and do things with you. This is the number one time to do it. And looking back, all the best things that I got out of my college experience, I got from really stepping outside of my comfort zone, reaching out, following up. The lab I got into by consistently waiting after classes to ask this professor and sending emails and follow-up emails. I got into classes that really changed my life that I wasn't maybe qualified on paper for, but just by emailing those professors and asking if there's any option, possibility, way that I could be in that class. Going to clubs that were really intimidating to me, and that when I first stepped foot in, I felt like I had no business being there, but just by continuously going and continuously trying, eventually I felt like I belonged in those places because I was able to learn and grow to the point that those things became comfortable. I just go back and tell myself to be delusional, be persistent, go after the things that you want. Most good things don't just like fall into your lap. You really got to go out there, put yourself out there and chase them a little bit. The next thing I go back and tell myself is to reach out and look for mentors. Go out and seek people that are doing the things that you want to be doing. Upperclassmen in your major, people who've been in extracurricular activity longer than you have, professors. If you've never done something before, it is so much easier to do it if you have somebody in your corner who's done it before, and like you don't know what pitfalls are out there, and you also don't know what opportunities are out there unless you expand your horizons, find them yourself, or have other people in your life that have gone out and done those opportunities. I made a lot of mistakes with like class scheduling and just generally knowing what opportunities were out there because I didn't spend as much time as I think I should have reaching out and looking for those mentor figures. And that's why it's just so important to have mentor figures and guides and friends in your life that are doing the things that you want to do so they can help guide you through it all. The next thing that I'd say is to not let the small things slip. When I look back at my biggest regrets throughout my college journey, most of them actually boil down to letting really small things slip through the cracks, whether that be not sending an email, accidentally sleeping through something, deciding not to advocate for myself on something because at the time it felt a little bit too overwhelming. The problem with doing that is if you let enough of those things kind of slip through the cracks, some of them have the opportunity and the ability to snowball into something much larger and much more difficult to deal with downstream than it would have been if you kind of nipped the bud early on. I would say have a solid method of organizing your life and keep yourself really accountable for following up on everything that happens. And if you do let something small slip, as soon as you recognize it, go back and do your best to mediate the situation. Another thing I would say is you don't have to do every single thing at 100% if the mentality of perfection is really getting in the way of you doing anything at all. Sometimes I would really get in my head about how I need to do something perfectly in order to have any chance of doing well. And sometimes having that thought in my head would really paralyze me. Like let's say my to-do list starts looking like it's 48 hours long. Instead of like working on the things, I would be paralyzed being like, oh my God, I need to do all these chapters, do all this homework, go over all of these practice tests, do every single thing. And 2 hours later, I'd still be like thinking about all the things I have to do while having done absolutely nothing. In those cases, rather than focusing on I need to do everything perfectly and getting kind of stuck in that, it was a lot more productive for me to be like just picking something and just trying to do it. And I found that instead of catastrophizing what's going to happen if I don't, I had a lot better outcomes when I kind of was like, okay, this is my to-do list. I'm just going to try to get as much of it done as possible. The next thing I'd go back and tell myself is that it is really important to be doing the things that you want to do. Just in general, to keep yourself sane and happy. And also, sometimes you choose to do things and you want to do them, or you have an end goal that requires you to do them, but that doesn't keep them from being really draining experiences. In those situations, it is just so important to be very, very active and intentional in carving out other sections of your life for things that very immediately fill that cup back up. For example, very often I'd have very packed course loads where I signed up for these classes, I wanted to be taking them, but stacking all of them up was really, really difficult and really draining. In those times, it was so important for my own like mental well-being to be incredibly intentional with carving out other sections of my life, even if I was tired, to still schedule at the time on the weekends to go out with my friends or to put myself in extracurricular activities so that that even if I had all this homework, I still had hours a week where I was going to be in those extracurricular settings. You know, even if going in, I'd be like, oh my God, I have so many other things on my plate. I leave those experiences feeling emotionally fulfilled and ready to go back and attack my academic stuff. Once I started being very, very intentional about that, I noticed like just my overall happiness was so much higher. And then the very last thing that I go back and tell myself, last thing that I wish I knew, is just to give yourself grace. I came into college with a lot of anxiety. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my future, and I felt like I was like, I just carried that anxiety with me. I spent a lot of time being mean to myself for like tripping and falling and messing up. I wish I could go back and tell myself that it's okay to not know what you're doing. It's okay to not have your future figured out. It's okay to not know what you want to major in. It's okay to not know what you want to eat tomorrow, or to feel like you're failing or falling behind. Those are all pretty normal things. College is a transition and it's your first time doing it. And as long as you get up and keep pushing and keep trying, that's the most important part. So yeah, that's everything that I wish I knew before college. These are all the lessons that I learned throughout my 4 years that I'd go back and tell my younger self, or that I'd tell anybody about to go through college or currently going through their own college experience. I hope this video was helpful. I will be making a different tips video going over very actionable things, time management, organization, note-taking, making friends, all that good stuff. I'll be going over all of that in a separate video, but if this video was helpful, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If I missed anything or you guys have anything else you want to add, feel free to leave those in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!